Okay, everyone, I'm going to do a closing market wrap video. I don't do these too often, but just thought I'd put one out there. And also, we'll look at a couple individual stocks. Nothing that's really standing out particular, but we'll go through some stocks that subscribers have asked. So I'm going to start out with the stocks, and then we'll look at the general markets and how we close today. All right, so we'll start off with Roku. A subscriber asked me what I thought of Roku, and obviously it's breaking out today with a 10% gain. But I don't see anything technically that tells me that I want to necessarily be long the stock, and I don't want to be short either. Let me kind of explain that. So if you're long this stock, you can remain long and just trail your stops. I think that's fine. And if you've been long the stock, then you've rode this trend, pretty much down from April all the way up here. However, if you're not long the stock, I wouldn't want to get long here because you have negative divergence on the daily. So you can see right here, the negative divergence is clearly intact. This breakout high was a divergent high. And again, today, they popped it just marginally above that previous high, marginal new high on lower momentum. So again, the RSI, unless it just rips higher and the price continues to rip higher from here, then we're going to keep the negative divergence intact. And this is a marginal new high. I would expect if it starts to break down that we're going to break this daily chart, this daily trend line right here. So watch for price action. If today was all that you're going to get, then we'll see what happens. And if it's going to continue lower down to this trend line, you're going to have negative divergence. You're going to look for a break in the trend, and then that is going to be your longer term sell signal. Your trend, your swing trade sell signal basically. So I wouldn't want to be long because negative divergence is in play, and I wouldn't want to short it here yet because negative divergence isn't a reason to get short. You need to see a break of price support. We could probably narrow it down. Yeah, I would just wait for it to get down to this trend line down here. It's down there a ways from where we're at. That's a drop of about 20% just to get down there. Until then, though, I just don't see a trade. Next up, let's go to this PZZA, Pizza, Papa John's. All right. So I have not looked at this one. I have not. So I'm just going to analyze it right here as we go. I don't see any bullish divergence. The momentum is moving higher, and price has been moving higher as well. We had slight bullish divergence right there. If I can mark it out here on the daily, you can see it was right there where we basically made an equal low, and the price had made a slightly new marginal low. So that was your divergence, but it's not that strong of a divergence. So I don't see anything. Yeah, this one, I don't know. To be honest, I just don't know. I don't see negative divergence. I don't see a strong bullish divergence. So probably just going to have to let this one give us some more data before having an opinion on it. PLCE, Children's Place. So I don't see any real divergences that are kind of intact. I mean, we've got bullish momentum. We've got bullish price action. So that's not a divergence. That's actually just prices moving with the momentum. I don't see a bearish divergence or a negative divergence. So as of right now, short-term bullish. However, if you roll out, you can see it looks like we've got a trend line right about there, and we're coming right into that trend line. It's right about there. So there's major resistance you can see on the daily. Lots of reactions along that, and we're coming right into it. So if you get there, probably going to be you'll probably get a major reaction there and look for a big pull down, or it might not even get up there. It might just sell off early. We'll have to continue to watch, but right now it's bullish, right? Coming into major resistance up here at about 44 to 4. It'll be about $44 right in there. Okay, moving on, TLT. So this is Treasury bonds, 20-year plus long-term Treasury bonds, basically. And I've been thinking about this one recently because this obviously plays into some of the macro concepts that we have to deal with in this market today, which is the Federal Reserve, the zero, the what do they call it, TINA, or the there is nothing else trade, or low ZIRP, zero interest rate policy. All this kind of stuff has caused a lot of irregular, just irregular patterns and price action in the market. And so TLT, the Fed's basically dropped interest rates and pushed interest rates to pretty much zero, which, so from my perspective, TLT is possibly at or near kind of the upside, or the total upside of where it can go. Now, yes, we could go to negative interest rates, and if we go to negative interest rates, then TLT most likely will go higher, and that's possible. It's negative in Europe, and maybe probable. I'm not exactly sure. So that's the fundamentals behind it. But let's look at the technicals. We have. Yeah, I see kind of negative momentum right here on the RSI, negative momentum on the PPO, coming right there. We have negative price action on, this is a weekly chart, by the way, negative price action on the weekly. So that's kind of what we got going on here. On the daily, you can see, if I kind of tighten this up, something like this. Yeah, maybe I actually had it right. So, something like that. So a downtrend line in the in bonds. So interest rates have been rising slowly. We have bullish divergence though here on the daily. So you can see here, there's your bullish divergence right there. So you got momentum kind of hanging in there and starting to build to the upside. And hit this price right here. This was a divergent low, this kind of cluster right here. That's a divergent low where you're making a lower price, but the momentum is on higher momentum. So signaling a trend change, and we do have this downtrend line. So yeah, maybe there's a long here in TLT. I would wait for the break, the break of the trend line. We might not get it here. We might continue to drift lower. But if we get some sort of an impulsive break higher in bonds, most likely going to come with a sell-off in the market, but not necessarily, then that would be, a buy signal and long on bonds. So there might be something there. Someone asked, am I in the Qualcomm trade? I am in the Qualcomm trade. I am short Qualcomm. No guarantees it's going to work out, but the technicals look good for a short to play out. I don't know why that line's not erasing. So we're just up here against resistance right now. We've just been trading, kind of tagging resistance. We keep getting rejected. Rejected yesterday. Today we just, the buyers didn't really step in. It didn't sell off more. It took a break from selling, but they didn't really step in. So it just closed kind of right there. So we can continue to back test up at resistance, or we can break down. The bearish divergence right here on the daily tells me we're going to break down. We don't have to, but that's what that tells me. So I'm continuing to watch for a PPO crossover. See that right there? Looking for those to cross down and then start to point down, and we should see continued downward price action in Qualcomm. So looks good to me. Another thing to look at, volume. It's not crazy volume. We're just kind of average volume, I guess. It's not, we're not being rejected or selling off anything crazy, but it's not, I guess I'm not really able to pull anything from the volume. But again, just look at those technicals, and if that changes, or we get some sort of a break higher and the technicals completely change, we burn through these negative divergences, then I won't want to be short then. But as of right now, looks like a short trade to me. Okay, PENN National Gaming. You can see the divergence. We had negative divergence right here at this. See this peak right here? This is when you had a negative divergence, and we put a negative divergence all the way back here. So this little pop right here was a divergent high, nothing crazy. And then every single high since then that's gone over this level of about 74.65 has been a divergent high. So you can, this little spike right here where they spiked it up over there, that was a divergent high, and there it is right there. See how the volume or the momentum is not nearly as high as previously. So little spikes making marginal new highs is very common when you have negative divergence or any kind of divergence basically. But negative divergence, expect to see marginal moves above the previous price, because what happens is when you get over there, there's no buyers left and the sellers step in and smash it back down. That's exactly what happened here. You can see when it popped over, it was a divergent high. The seller stepped in, smashed it down, big red candle there. So that's, something to take note of. Now, recently we've been moving higher and the momentum is starting to build. If the momentum can continue higher and burn through the divergence, making a new peak, then you don't have negative divergence anymore. It's no longer a bearish setup. If the momentum fails and we start to turn down and sell off, then this is just a continuation of the negative divergence. So that's what you got to watch for. I don't know what's going to happen, but whatever happens will tell you what it most likely is. Now, if it does turn down, then it's still bearish. This is the trend line that I have on PENN, and I think we broke that trend line back here, and we've just kind of been drifting sideways, not moving down, not really moving up, just sideways basically. From the breakdown point, you can see we're basically back to the breakdown point right now. So there is no, it's not tradable right now. It's not moving up, it's not moving down. So I would look for further clarity, but we just need to see what happens with this divergence here. If it does move down, then you do have a level right about, we'll mark it right there. We'll call it 52.58. We'll call that the first level. It's about 52.50. That'll be our first level of support. And then tightening it up on the hourly, next level of support on this is about 38.54. So mark those out on your chart if you're interested in that. There's no trade right now on this, but we can watch it. Okay, and then we'll cover Zoom and Peloton. I look at these. So Zoom's been doing nothing. It's just been sideways. It's below the trend, but look, we got this big sideways just chop zone. It's going down, it's up, it's down, it's up. Nothing to do here. It just get chopped to pieces. So I'm not really in this one right now. I just don't, I think maybe one of these moves down, it's going to run down and fill the gap at 326.26, and then we'll see if there's support there. But yeah, there is still negative divergence is still there. Now price has started to move down, so it's not diverging anymore. The momentum forecasted the price to move down, and price has now moved down. So it's just a downtrend basically. So we'll see if that continues. Peloton, where are you at? Okay, Peloton, same deal, sideways, just big sloppy. What I was looking for on Peloton was a move up, to somewhere in here. I don't know if we'll get it, but if it does want to do that big rip higher, and that's a pretty sizable move, that would be a 20% move. But if it wants to rip higher, that's where I want to short this thing, is up here. Not sure if we'll get it again. Usually the market, when everyone's trying to get a perfect allocation or a perfect price level, the market doesn't give it to you typically. So that's something to watch for. Near-term support, I think, is right about there. Well, yeah, that seems about right at about 98.51. So, a break below 98.51 that can stick and it's impulsive would be a sell signal. A move up to resistance is a possible area to get short on. This one doesn't have negative divergence, and that's why I was, this one I traded it down to this move down here, but there's no divergence on it, and so it never had negative divergence. You can see here price started moving down, or momentum started moving down, and that was right at the peak, and price started moving down. So there was no divergence from the price. So what I'm looking for is potential a potential move up, and maybe a move up to make a new all-time high. And if it does that, and it does it relatively quickly, it will most likely you'll get that bearish divergence. It'll look something like this, where the RSI moves up to here, makes a new peak, but it will be a lower peak and will make a new high. And that would be the area I would most likely want to start reestablishing a short position. So I'm not in this one right now, just watching it, letting it set up basically. Here's Q's little break above this trend line. I'm thinking about getting rid of it because it's just, now we're just chopping through. But basically in general, the market's going nowhere. It's just sideways. You can see we've just been in this big chop zone where we go down, we go up, we go down, we go up. It has a slight upward momentum, which makes sense because in general, markets go up, as the dollar falls. So we'll watch that. But the market's not doing anything. So I'm not really able to, say that there's a swing trade, or I don't see anything telling me one thing's going to happen over the other. So right now I'm just keeping it light on the indices until I can get some more information. One thing that's interesting though, on the dollar, I want to point out, the dollar continues to have bullish divergence. And you can see here on the daily chart, look at that big, long bullish divergence. It's just continuing to extend higher. And it really started to build right here where the dollar continued to make new lower lows, and yet the divergence was there. And this price action here, the slight lower low right there, that was another divergent low. And if we get any further downward action, those will be divergent lows as well. So unless we see a complete collapse in the dollar and it makes a new lower low and burns through that divergence, any marginal new low on the dollar is going to be divergent low where it's bullish basically. So what I'm looking for is, I'm looking for more information, but again, and we could probably mark a trend line out right here. It's got this slight trend line right there. So we'll watch for that. All right, that's kind of the downtrend line that we have. We got a couple reactions on the hourly chart, a bullish break above the trend line with this bullish divergence that is intact on the daily chart is bullish for the dollar, and that most likely will come with a big sell-off in the stock market. And that would probably, we can move this out, kind of extend that line out, maybe move it up to like right about there now. We'll see. But yeah, so a bullish break does set the dollar up maybe for a move all the way up here to about 96 or so in the dollar. So there is potential there, and we're going to have to continue to watch this. Okay, that's all I got for this video. Just a closing video, go over a couple ideas. And if you guys find value, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment. I do appreciate all that. And if you're new to trading or you want to learn some skills on how to do technical analysis, take my trading course, my technical analysis and trading course. It's about a 5-hour course. I charge $99 for it. It's in the description below. That'll give you some of the skills that will help you at least read charts. And I think that's really key to being able to find good trade ideas and not just jump on some momentum trade that you hear a headline on CNBC or everybody's talking about something and you just pile in and hope for the best. This will give you a more technical mindset, a better skill set for analyzing stock trades and investing as well. So take the trading course if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you. I do appreciate that. And I'll catch you guys on the next video.